Hi, this is Sue again, and I'd like to wrap up this training video. This is Lesson 2, Part C. And what I'd like to do is just present an overview of what we're actually looking for so that for those of you who are newer, you actually see how this can work. Now, it's simple. That doesn't make it easy. So you're going to have to, for those of you who are experienced traders, you're going to have to forget a few things or push a few things that you've learned into the file drawers, under archive. And for those of you who are newer, you don't want to trade this without working through the front end of it in paper. Just trust me. So if you could use, let's just use a weekly and a daily here because I want to keep these charts big enough that you can actually see. Well, let's get rid of this too. And I'm going to just go down through a couple of ETFs. What we trade is two different trades, a reversal and a continuation. All right, now let's first talk about the reversal. All righty? So if you have a double top like you had here, and I want you to notice I'm synchronized here, but this set up very clearly on the weekly chart. Now, the higher the time frame, let's just blow up the weekly right now. The higher the time frame, I'm testing an alert system here. The higher the time frame that gets these patterns, the more likely the pattern is, when confirmed, to last. Okay, let's repeat that. The higher the time frame, this is a weekly chart. This is a significant V-shaped configuration with divergence on the MACD. Confirmation that it's setting up, ready to unload if it goes, is the cross of the 8 and the 21. It's that simple. Okay? Now, it isn't that easy, but it is that simple. So keep this in mind. Now, did it reverse as the MACD predicted it would? Well, you could have traded this right on the weekly chart. Now, did you know that then? No. This was the reversal of USO, the U.S. oil ETF. Okay? So this was the run that followed. Now, for those of you who, realize that the dates here are from August 4th, 2014 to January 1st, January 26th this year. So we are talking a 5-month move here. Now, do you get these very often? And the answer is not really. No, you get shorter ones. These big, huge, sweeping ones like this, you don't get them all the time. But you can see how this is a reversal, and this is the confirmation. Now, let's just project forward. And you can say, well, that's really easy to see in hindsight, Sue. Okay. Well, what do you see happening here in real time? This was the first lift. Isn't that a reversal pattern? A lot of us traded that. And what is happening now? As we come back, we're almost retesting that same low of the MACD, not the low of price, but the low candle relative to the low of the MACD. Just slide on up. Put your line across. Now look at that divergence. So if and when this reverses, we should have a pretty good opportunity to get a pop here. Agreed? That is a reversal. Very often they do this little ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom to slow down. Now, shall we, because this is on a weekly chart, it has more credibility than it would if it were an hourly chart. We get them on the hourly chart fairly frequently. We get them on the 5-minute charts all the time. But because this is a weekly chart, it has a lot of authority when it confirms. Okay, now let's go to the daily and let's see what that looked like on the daily. Now I have 2 years here. Here's your V. So once, side by side now, once the weekly confirmed that the double top was in, It's the same place on both charts. Here we come. The early aggressive entry is on the daily chart where the 8 crosses the 21. Lock in profits as price drops off the 8 because they will usually retest. Now, if all you did was scan through these two longer term charts, and let's just pick a few right now. Do you see how we're all waiting again for USO to reload? This is called a reload. It's done its first lift up out of there, and now price is off the 8. There's no divergence on the daily. If anything, the MACD says price belongs all the way back down here again. Well, we'd be fine with that. We would be just fine with that because this divergence on the weekly MACD is not going to go away. It's in there. You can see how it's locked in. It is not going to go away. It's already dropped all the way down almost to the line, and this is the divergence that's holding. Okay, so we're just going to sit and watch and wait. We like to watch the ETFs because we can see this coming and sit and wait and watch. So as you learn this methodology, this is why you'll hear me repeatedly talk about patience and waiting. It's not what adults want to hear. Kids don't want to hear that, but adults certainly don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear patience and waiting. They want money now. I want to trade today. I'm a trader. I need to trade. And the answer is, from my perspective, I'd rather sit and watch and wait for something that is setting up really nicely. Like it really will give me an opportunity to make, some money more easily with less risk. Okay, I just have to be patient here. So let's look at the OIH because this is one of our ETFs again. And sure enough, as you might suspect, there it is setting up very similarly to the oil ETF. Now this one is not staying above as well. Blue line is touching or dropping below. But do you see how sophisticated and evolved this is? It's all the way back down here pretty much. There's your divergence setting up. And now you know why we're watching the OIH. Reversal to the downside. And now what you're watching is the follow-up reversal setting up potentially to the high side. And you'll hear me say potentially. This is not anything I want to get excited about until I see that it's actually going to turn. It can tease us and tease us. Okay? So now that's the reversal pattern to the downside and now setting up to the upside. Put some alerts on them. You can put steady alerts on when the 8 crosses the 21 on the daily. You can do whatever. And these could take a long time to play out. Just because the MACD says price should be somewhere doesn't mean it's going to necessarily go there in the next short term. Okay? So, having said this, now let's talk briefly about how we get in this. And again, it's the MACD, blue line gets above the red line, cross of the 8 and the 21. You want the pattern on the higher time frame. You can trade it on the weekly. But your earlier entry that gives you more profitability is down here on the daily. But don't rush it. Okay? Now that's one trade. Now, Facebook has erosion on the weekly chart. Granted, yes. Shovel scoop, blue line above red line. Position of strength. Okay? Did it have a pullback? Yes. It has had a couple of small pullbacks in here. There was the latest one. But now the funny thing is with Greece, so many of these have pulled back in the last 2 weeks and been just absolutely hammered. And this one, as you can see, for the last 2 weeks has actually continued to be pretty much parabolically up. Blue lines above red lines, everybody holding. Okay? Well, I'd like to start our conversation back in this turn here. Okay? So, what the continuation trade is, simply put, is it is an area of consolidation that continues in the direction of that the price was already going. All right? Why? Because if it gets into an area of consolidation and doesn't continue in the way it was going, it very often is from a reversal pattern. Right down into another mini little reversal pattern. And down on the hourly chart, that was a legitimate reversal pattern. Right back into an area of consolidation. And look at your MACD. Elevate, elevate, elevate. Blue line turning up and spreading above red line. Blue line crossed here, stayed above red line, consolidation, boom, 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 and up it goes. Now, the reason that you don't want to rush into these is because there was a point here where you very likely would have thought, well, we could go down. We could go down. Well, if all you're doing is jumping in and out on the cross of that 8 and 21, you would have been close right here to jumping in, except for one thing. Look at your MACD. Arched up, red line staying nice and steady up, and then blue line staying above red line. Now, could it have touched here in a couple places? Sure, absolutely. But do you see how this all works together? It's pushing price up. Very typical flagging here. Up, flagpole, flagging sideways. And you can frame each one of these out the way we do with that professional trade. And you can just say to yourself, well, I'm not trading it either direction until it comes out of here with confirmation from the MACD and cross of the 8 and the 21. I'm just not doing it. Okay? You can make all those decisions and all those disclaimers. And then when they do come up, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for holding that line, holding that line, holding that line. Look at the blue line, staying above red, staying above red. It pulls back. This is very typical. It shovel scoops and skirts or squeezes here. And if I were to put the TTM squeeze on, this is what I was doing the other day. If I put the TTM squeeze on, you'll see the squeeze right here. And then up it goes. Up it goes. Right into a flag. Flagpole up, frame out this big candle. And you're not really going anywhere until you get out of this flag. And no matter what this MACD has done, look at your 8 and 21. No capitulation, no weakening, no giving in, none whatsoever, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. So that is the continuation. It is usually from an area of consolidation, and then it continues in the direction from whence it came. If it doesn't here, then if it does not form a complete topping pattern, then very likely what it'll do is pull back and possibly reload and then lunge again. So let's explore that, shall we? Okay, so where are we on Amazon? That's one of the ones that jumped way up. Okay, what's it doing? Well, here was the lift of Amazon off the 8 back to the 8. And what has it been doing? It's been going sideways in consolidation. MACD has been reloading, saying don't go yet, so close to going. It's getting there. And all that time, what has the 8 and the 21 been doing? Let me get all these lines off. The blue line has been holding at or above the red line. And the red line has actually been climbing. So let's frame just this part out. Has that red line ever really rolled over? Had a little hesitancy here, little hesitancy here. The lines came closer together here and then pushed it back up. Little bit of a pull back in here, pulled back, and then it lifted back up.